This is Rugby Merlin and welcome back to the channel. So the Bledisloe is gone, but Australia went to New Zealand to their bogey ground actually up in the capital, and they were looking for a big performance after last week's close game, and let's see how the game went. Australia did start fantastically well. Light speed, and they really put New Zealand under pressure early on, and a lot of that came from variation. They never did the same thing twice, and yeah, lots of line out variation, lots of mixing it up in terms of first receiver. So Australia looked really dangerous in the first 20 minutes. So they got off to a fantastic start, and that's usually New Zealand's like forte, but they turned the tables on them. And they do get a try out of it. Big old Tupou with his massive legs. He twists his knee early on, but he managed to soldier on into the second half. But Australia are not perturbed, and they keep on pushing on. And yeah, great pressure, and they flip it down the blind side again, right at fullback is a danger man, and eventually goes out, and New Zealand cough up a penalty, and they did concede a lot of penalties in this game. Australia, and I was so happy about this, they kicked to the corner, kept the pressure on, and it paid off for them. And yeah, the old Muck Wright, Mr. Wright, he gets over in the corner, powers over for a try, and Australia score the first try of the match, so they're 7-0 up. New Zealand have had hardly any ball at all to work with, but still they're so dangerous, and that old thing of like as soon as they get a turnover they look to attack is such a great attribute of this team and teams of years gone by. And Setiti, who had an absolutely magnificent game. If he wasn't player of the match, I don't know who was, but he makes a nice little break in midfield, feeds Anton Leonard-Brown, who I was so glad to see start in the match, and beautifully weighted pass out to Severis, who gets a very, very nice try in the corner. Australia do keep on the pressure, and I thought it was a mistake after they got rewarded for taking the penalty kick to touch earlier in the half. I thought they would do the same again, but this time they opt to take the 3 points, and I think that signaled a little bit that they were kind of getting tired. They do get the 3 points, so they go out to a 10-5 lead, but New Zealand, I think they smell a little bit of blood in the water, and Will Jordan is absolutely phenomenal player. He cuts again the Australian defence to ribbons. He scores another try, and unbelievably he scored 35 tries in 37 appearances. That is almost a one-for-one record. I don't know if it's the greatest record ever, but it's got to be very close. So he had a great first half. Australia pile on the phases, but they've kind of reverted to a very one-dimensional style already. Like the game is, it's not even into the second half yet, but already that kind of innovation and guile that they had in the first 20 has kind of dissipated. So yeah, Tupou gets bundled into touch, and that kind of signals again the New Zealanders that it's time to strike. Australia do get a penalty and they take the lead again, but before the halftime whistle, Clark, who again is becoming a try-scoring machine. He runs so straight and so direct now. He's got so much confidence, I think, coming off the Super Rugby season, and he looks like a different player than he did like a year or two ago. And he gets a very, very big try just before halftime, and New Zealand go into the sheds at 19-13 in front. So halftime summary, I think the Australians did well, particularly in the first 20. I mean, not a lot of people were expecting them to come out of the blocks like that. Again, all the classic players, Valentini, McWright, Wright at fullback, Loisui in at 10. They all looked good, you know what I mean? But New Zealand took a little bit of time to find their feet, and they did so with some hard running from particularly like Setiti, who's already looking like, next level generational talent. And I won't spoil it, but he went on to have an even better second half. But they worked themselves back into the match, and they danger men like Jordan and Clark. They really did finish off the opportunities when they came. They're going to want to secure more ball, I think, in the second half just to make sure of it. But the danger signs are there for Australia, and they really need to up their performance levels and introduce that variation that worked so well for them in the first 20. Because if they stick to the basic like run it up formula, it's not going to work for them. So yeah, let's see how the second half goes. New Zealand get a lot more ball early in this second half and make pretty good use of it. Satiti again is involved in absolutely everything. He has so many carries early, and you think just like his stats, because it's become a big stats game, rugby, but his stats are going to be absolutely off the charts after this match. Particularly his carries. I mean, he was making himself available every single time, and he was making good yards. Rieko Ioane takes time off drinking his coffee and watching his mates play rugby to make the occasional cameo. But yeah, in general, the guy was absolutely anonymous again. And Anton Leonard-Brown, who's playing instead of Jody Barrett, he did more in this game than I've seen Ioane do in the last 2 seasons for the All Blacks. Overall, New Zealand are looking much sharper in the second half, and it looks like they found their kind of speed and found their feet. They bring on some subs, and Big Tamati comes on. I'm interested to see if he can make an impact, because I do really like him. I think he's one for the future, as long as he keeps his confidence up. And yeah, as soon as I was thinking that and wrote that down in the notes, he goes over with a big charge underneath the posts, gets a nice try, and New Zealand further extend their lead. So Australia now are really in danger of being run over in the second half. It's a big test for Australia, and it looks like they're running out of steam. And I think Schmidt empties the benches at the right time. So you're thinking now, can the substitutions for Australia kind of breathe some life into their performance? And it does kind of work to a certain extent. But you have to say, Satiti again, it's like he hasn't stopped all match. The guy's fitness levels and his engine are unbelievable. Like, you know what I mean? He's a big, hard carrying Lucy, and he just hasn't stopped. Like, I was really like blown away by his performance. It's one of the best I've seen from a youngster like him, particularly in the back row against a good back row, the Australian back row. So I was very, very impressed by him. New Zealand do break their 60-minute duck, and it's a try-scoring machine. Caleb Clark, he only knows one way, and that is forward. And yeah, the guy jumps on his back, but it's not enough to stop him, and he bounces over the line and gets New Zealand's try to seal the deal. And New Zealand will be very happy, because Australia, and they've shown guts all through this rugby championship, I think. They've had the odd misstep, which every team does, but you know, considering the condition at the start of the season, I think, you know, they can be proud of themselves in terms of the performances they've put out. They do attack the New Zealand line, and New Zealand defend very well. Scott Barrett comes into his own a little bit, and you know, actually leads through his actions, and you know, he steps up a little bit as captain, which I've been waiting for him to do through this season so far, and I think he did it a bit in this game. So yeah, that's a positive again for New Zealand. So in summary, a very well deserved win for New Zealand. I think Australia can be proud of their performances over the 2 matches, but they did unscore in the second half today, and yeah, I think that was kind of, they went into their shell a little bit. They went out all guns blazing in the first 20, and it paid off for them. And they really need to play an adventurous game if they're going to get anything out of these matches. They can't go a conventional route. They really do have to take risks, and they have the players to do it. So I think when they were in the match, they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit and let New Zealand back in the game, and New Zealand took the opportunity with aplomb. They have such good finishers in their team, but I do feel like New Zealand have a little bit of extra fat that they need to cut. And I will mention during halftime, you could see Jody Barrett in deep conversation with his mate. He's obviously talking about the game because it was very close at that point. And you got Papa Louis joking and laughing with his buddy. Then you've got Anton Leonard-Brown, who obviously, he hasn't had many starts, but he plays his guts out the entire game. And then you've got Rico Ioane, who just doesn't look like he cares. So I think there's a need to select who the real ones are for New Zealand, and I think Razor's had enough information now that hopefully he's gonna drop some of those that dead weight. And you got players like Tupovai, Sititi, Jordan, Clark, Barrett, Tamari Williams. They're the real ones. Those guys that give their blood and guts, and you can include Kane in that. And you know what I mean? Build a side around those, particularly the younger boys, and get rid of the ones who are not pulling their weight, because New Zealand is still capable of being an awesome team. So I think Razor, and he's a pretty astute operator, so I think he'll know that, and there might be some big changes in the squad for the November tests. But again, a very enjoyable game, always a classic between these two. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the game, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.